Folks, we're not even at Thanksgiving yet, but I want you all to be prepared. You need to gear up for this type of thing. I hope people are getting involved in training. As you know, the Majority Report, we generally, and we've been a little bit remiss in forming our paramilitary training camps, which prepare you for the war on Christmas. It has been dormant for years. And it appears that it may be back. Here's what's important about the war on Christmas. This is what's important about it for you to understand, aside from it being funny and giving me an opportunity to have the best appearance I ever had on cable television. The issue of the war on Christmas is it gives you a perfect example of the MO of the right, where you take an isolated incident, sometimes you either fabricate it or you enhance it, or it just is because you can find, you know, odd things here and there around the country, right? Like you can find a story of a student newspaper that apologizes for something in their journalism that is dumb. But the idea of like you can find college students doing stuff that is dumb because, you know, they're working their way through things is not a revelation, and it's not a movement, and it's not a shift in society, nor is, you know, a place in Wisconsin that's not singing Silent Night or using the word Jesus in their song. Here's Scott Walker. He's got nothing better to do. He's on Fox and Friends.
Toward the end of the year, starting about right now, people start saying happy holidays. And because there are a lot of holidays. You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's, you've got other holidays as well. But when your point about taking the name Christmas off that tree, why are they doing that in your estimation?
It's not only here, it's all across the country. It's being politically correct. Somehow people feel that there's this separation of church and state. That's not the case. The Constitution made it clear you can't establish a state religion. So if we said you can only practice things regarding Christian faith, that would totally be wrong, which is why we don't. We don't distinguish that you can only do things that relate to Christians, certainly those who are Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, you name it, Buddhist. All those things are welcomed in not only Wisconsin but across the country. But that doesn't mean you can't have any connection to those things. And it would be like having Thanksgiving and forgetting about giving thanks for what we have and our family and our friends and those around us. So interesting times out there. You combine that with what happened with last week with Eric Holder and the push in Virginia with his efforts to try and redistrict him in the power forever. A lot of crazy things happening in the world. We just need to be thankful going into the holiday season and still remember it's a Christmas tree.
All right. Well,
what are you
Merry
talking
Tuesday.
about?
Thank you very much.
So what? Scott Walker really, like, he's a little bit rusty, I think, right? I mean, or he just really wanted to tie this back in.
Well, he had to give his Koch brother a shout out.
Right.
That's the redistricting thing there.
Thanksgiving. What is it? It's not Thanksgiving. It's like taking the thanks out of Thanksgiving. So it's just giving.
So
that's Christmas.
We were talking about this. It's basically Holder versus Walker. Like those are the two partisans talking about. I mean, how would you feel if you're paying Scott Walker all this money and he goes and talks about like Thanksgiving? It's like not saying thanks for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. What the hell are you talking about?
What are you spending your time on?
It's just one clip a week, and he has a promise to those Koch brothers, whichever one's paying him now. Okay,
so in other words, they bring him on because there's a story in Wisconsin. I get this, how this works. There's a story. See, this is the thing is like, I am a appearance MSNBC contributor. And they ask me if there's any conflicts. Like, every, 6 months I get a letter from NBC News. Any conflicts you have, you're being paid by outside organizations. And it never occurs to me that I could be paid by outside organizations. I never have to write back anything because I'm like, no, I do my show and that's it. But he gets paid by outside organizations who pay him to show up, and when they call him up and they say, "Hey, we got a story out of Wisconsin where they're not calling it a Christmas tree, they're calling it a holiday tree," and he's like, "Okay, I'll come on." But part of his pay is what you're saying is I got to deliver this message for the Koch brothers because I'm working as a spokesperson for the redistricting project that they're fighting Eric Holder. And that's why he's got to shoehorn that in then.
Because it's cyclical. The secret of this industry is very rarely do you get on these cable news shows by pitching a story. They're looking at the day's events and they're saying, all right, come in and talk about this. It's why, you can go on and be an expert about any topic as long as you can talk about it for 2 minutes. And that's the life of a pundit.
That's exactly it. And if I had another agenda, like if I went on and just said like, this thing is with Trump is crazy. It's like Third Love Bras. It's like it fits him to a T, and it's tagless and it's very comfortable.
Yeah,
and doesn't make you feel basic. So that would be like that. Well, if folks ever see me on MSNBC and I start devolving into that, that's
Jason
what it's about.
Chaffetz the other day talking about homelessness, and I didn't realize that his whole thing, his jam, every single time a homeless. There's a homeless debate. It was about Kshama Swant in Amazon, actually. They bring him on. And I didn't know that. Like, he's the guy they go to shit on homeless people.
Interesting.